Okay, Rachel, are you ready to go?
Yes.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Phil, aren't you supposed to be running the show? Which guest have we got?
Don't make me the boss of stuff.
You're the boss of stuff.
Let's wing it.
And go.
Hi, welcome to the This Is My Voice podcast.
The podcast where we discuss all things voice performance and talk to some of the industry's best and brightest talent.
We're your hosts, Rachel Salas
And Eddie Bye.
Our next guest is extremely unique as there hasn't been a big screen film for Wallace and Gromit in 19 years. So taking the baton from the original voice actor Peter Salas, who is also a family member of my husband, we talk about the next generation of Wallace and Gromit fans being introduced to the wacky adventures of a lovable Yorkshire inventor and his beagle with a heart of gold. Ben Whitehead, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. It's a pleasure to meet you online as well and have you here from the other side of the world. Hello, Eddie.
Oh,
Hello.
lovely.
Hello, Ben. Lovely to meet you too and hear your voice and see your face. It's awesome.
When I created this idea for the podcast, our number one guest on my wish list was actually you, Ben. So today, meeting you is actually a little bit special because Wallace and Gromit was such a massive part of my childhood. And now I get to pass this fantastic new movie onto my little one. I feel extremely privileged to have you here today to talk about your new film, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl. For the folks listening in, can you tell us a little bit about the movie?
I certainly can, but I should start as well by saying similar childhood, Rachel. It was a big part of my childhood as well. Well, it's, maybe slightly older than yourself, but yeah, certainly my younger years. Watching Wallace and Gromit, I mean, everyone was a fan. Everyone was talking about it from the grand day out onwards. And I think that's probably why I started to imitate the voice a bit as a kid. I don't know. Never dreaming that I might be doing it one day. I just used to do voices. But can I tell you about the film? Certainly can. I have seen the film now. I went to a friends and family screening in Bristol with my dear friend who lives in Bristol and his family. It was absolutely amazing to sit there and watch it, having been a part of it for so long. It was good as well to gauge the reaction of the younger audience members because it was a friends and family. So you could see how the younger people were going to react to it. This wasn't just, the adults who'd made the film or anything like that. It were bringing their kids along. So my friend brought his kids and there were some kids next to me and just listening to them react, especially at the moments of high drama, which there are, of course, in the film, and the quite scary bits as well, because there's I'd say one of the real strengths of the film, because obviously it's Aardman characters and Wallace and Gromit characters, I should say, that we're familiar with, obviously, with Wallace and Gromit and with Feathers McGraw, the penguin who was in the wrong trousers, of course, who's back. But there's a brand new character, and I think this is where, the geniuses at Aardman really come into their own. It's been able to introduce these characters that can so power the film as it does. And I'm watching it thinking, yeah, I think there's a new star here. With a new character in the film, and it is of Norbot, Wallace's gnome, which I could probably talk about because it's out there now and we've had the trailers and everything. But I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just saying, yeah, Reece Shearsmith, the actor who voices him, I think has done a fantastic job there. But the animators, of course, been creating this thing, and it's kind of legion of other gnomes have really, really hit one over the boundary there. It's fantastic, I think. What else can I tell you about the film? I think I've said a bunch there, actually, haven't I, really, with the moment that I drama. I want you all to see it. When you get you'll have to wait till the new year in Australia.
Yeah, the 3rd of January. Yeah. So we're looking forward to it. It's definitely on our calendars. Just freaking it there for the folks at home. Get on it. 3rd of January.
That's it. You'll have it there. You'll be able to see it. It's honestly, it's such a treat. It's fantastic just to get back into that world of Wallace and Gromit, a feature-length version as well. Like, do I have to sell it? This is the thing. It's like, do I have to sell Wallace and Gromit? Like someone said the other day, they said, yeah, because I said, look, I've never met someone who doesn't like Wallace and Gromit or Aardman, And they said, yeah, it's a bit of a red flag if someone doesn't like Wallace and Gromit. I spoke with someone at Aardman as well. someone big at Aardman, and said, "Yeah, can't imagine anyone not like it." And then I stopped and I thought, maybe jealous animators don't like Wallace and Gromit, and he said, "Yeah," and gave an example of someone who'd sort of put them down, and I went, like, "There you go, that's it." Jealous animators are the only ones who don't like Wallace and Gromit.
So, Ben, you've said before you grew up watching Wallace and Gromit. You're a fan, and you started playing around with the voices. So how do you go from that to being the star of the show?
This is where, as they say in the world of acting, you've got to be in the right place at the right time and also know the right people.
So you just fluked your way in.
Listen to this, all right? This is the story. I should start off by saying I never auditioned for this role, okay? And that's the one thing that's really hit me doing this feature now. I never auditioned for this role. I was in a place where I sort of walked away from acting, tried a new career in teaching, kind of wasn't really working out for me. I was doing the training. Anyway, I had a friend who knew that I was at a low ebb. She'd come to see me and said, "You need to get back into acting because, you're missing it." And she just phoned me up. She'd been working with Aardman as a reading actor. Her name's Nonnie Lewis, by the way. I should tell you. She's not only a dear friend, she's also a very successful voice actor and artist. And she said, "Can you get to Bristol in 2 hours?" Because she was working with Aardman, just reading in lines as they were auditioning the other actors for The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. This is back in 2003. And she said that they need a male voice. Can you get down there in 2 hours? I've given them your name just to sort of read a few lines and show them that you can turn up on time and, won't be a liability. I did. I was through the door before I'd even hung up the phone. I was in the saying goodbye and the car accelerator was down. And I got there and I met Steve Box, who was co-directing the film with Nick, and just read him a few lines and just sort of happened to say, "Oh, by the way, I sort of do voices. I can have a go at Wallace," and did it. And they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's useful." I mean, I assume I would have got the job anyway, even if I hadn't done the impression. And that's what got me in working with Aardman. I was working as a reading artist, as all these amazing actors were coming into this room to audition for the part. Big high-profile actors, and you could see, I got to tell you both, they wanted the job so much. And it was so heartening to see. As someone who just got back into acting, you could see it. They were like, and the hunger never leaves you, one, but it's also, company means so much to so many people. So that's how I got involved. That was the beginning.
So you just annoyed a lot of top actors in the UK just by sort of sauntering in, being on time and reading the lines.
I can tell you, no. The lesson there is stay in contact with your friends, right? That's the thing. This is my friend. We met at university, we're students together. And that's the thing, I think, is, people talk about networking. There's no networking like the people who you love, that you've worked with, that you've nurtured your early career and learning with or whatever. They're the people you've got to stay in touch with because they mean a lot to you, and never be afraid to do that and reach out and whatever and say, "Hey, how you going? How's things?" Because you can do the same for them. You can do exactly the same for them. When something comes up, you'll know someone, you'll think of them and say, "I know the perfect person for this job." And yeah, you can throw them something as well. So I think that is the lesson.
Ben, can you hook me up with Aardman?
Well, there you go. Well, I'm sure that they'll listen to this. I'll get through to them and say, "You know what? There's a big fan down in Australia.
If they need an Aussie, I'll do the voice for you."
Well, you never know. You never know what they're going to come up with their new thing. Wallace and Gromit Down Under. Can we see that one happening there? I can definitely see Shaun the Sheep Down Under, by the way, because that's...
Well, makes sense. Either that or New Zealand. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
Yay!
Yeah.
So what were you doing? So you were acting and you just thought, "I'm out," and went to do some teaching. What acting were you doing? Were you just doing on-camera acting or were you doing voice acting as well?
I think it was probably early career, and I was also slightly deciding between acting and my first acting job was gallery work, as we used to call it. It would probably just get lumped in with immersive theatre now, but it was the Museum of the Moving Image on the South Bank in London. And it was one of those sort of character roles where you get to play a certain character from film history. One of them was a Russian agitprop film person, expert who was in this mock-up train that they used to take all over the Soviet Union back in the early days to spread the message of the party and show them Sergei Eisenstein films and things like that. So it was kind of also just teaching people about what the early Russian filmmakers did for cinema. And the other one was the Hollywood movie. It's completely opposite. It was the Hollywood movie lot. And it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. But I also had this kind of interest in filmmaking, and I was running as well. I was production running at the same time. And I was kind of wondering whether to go that way too, to the point where I even came down to New Zealand in 1999 I came, in order to get work on Lord of the Rings, which I didn't in the end because, well, my visa ran out by the time they'd gone on to the second movie, but they were like, oh, they were really nice. They were like, oh yeah, come, we'll get you involved in the second one. Pretty much everyone in New Zealand got involved in those films, I think, from what I can get. But I went to Australia instead. So it was the first time I ever went there, and saw my cousins in Brisbane eventually. But, also hung out with my good friend Nonnie Lewis, who helped me out there with the Aardman call. I just thought I didn't come out to be a backpacker, but that's exactly what happened, and kind of just, pick fruit my way around Australia and thought, when am I going to get a chance to do this again? And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. I've been back once since, and it was fantastic. And I also wrote something. I think that was a big moment in Melbourne. I was there for a few months, and I wrote and performed something. So that started me on, eventually, slowly, when I came back, on a kind of comedy writing and performing career, which I still do very much on the fringe circuit. Eventually, I got back to that, I think, once I decided I was going to be an actor. So yeah, that happened, that sort of little step on the journey. And I do character comedy and, as I said, fringe level theater. But yeah, back then it was a case of just graduated. Do I really want to do this? Am I making up my mind? And it becomes quite apparent that actually you're not as good at anything else. So you better stick to the acting, because everything else.
Yeah, one passion. Did you visit Adelaide?
Very briefly. I'm so sorry. What can I say? Because I know you're in Adelaide, right? I was like, I got there. And I thought, like many places, I'd like, I'll get a job here and stick around for a while. And I thought, okay, I'll take the lift. And with this couple who were moving up to Port Hedland, and I got to Perth and thought, right, I haven't got any money. I'm going to have to stay here for a while and get a job. And then my friend sent me an email, said, you're not around Perth, are you? Because I've got to lift up the coast to Kununurra tomorrow. That was it. He'd said to his friends who was in the car with, he just said, I just need a few more things to put in this little Toyota that we're driving up. Might have been a Nissan, I can't remember. And they said, what is it? I said, I want to put my surfboard, a few pots and pans, and my friend Ben. And that was it. There we go. It was like me sort of traveling around Australia, getting lucky again, really, just being the right.
If you've ever got another fringe act, definitely come to the Adelaide Fringe around March.
My friends come. I think they're going to Perth next year. But yeah, my friends Neil and Dan, they were there last year. Neil was working in he had his inflatable church thing going on there. But they love it. They love Adelaide Fringe. Yeah, I'd really like to come. Actually, I'm probably too late for next year, but maybe the year after that.
Yay! Well, we'll definitely
pop in. Make sure you do pop in.
Yeah, I will. I keep promising my cousins as well that I'm going to be coming over there and performing. So yeah, it's a really nice way to. It's a nice way to start the year when it's winter here as well, to come down there. Anyway.
So Ben, the voice. How did you come up with it? How did you master it? What did you do? What was the process there? Because it's pretty bloody good, if I'm honest. And I wouldn't have noticed the difference. I've seen you perform it as well. There's a couple of YouTube clips of you doing it, and it's just incredible. And I look at your face and your mouth when you're doing it, and, you contort it, and you do it like every voice artist does. They almost become the character physically in the face. But what was the process, and how long did it take?
How long did it take was what I was going to answer, actually, Eddie, because it's taken 20 years.
Yeah, I was expecting that.
That's how long I've been given by Aardman to sort of work on this thing, because that's when I started, right? 2003. In the very early jobs, I think what I was doing to begin with was focusing on the imitation and the voice match. And there were two aspects of Wallace's voice. I say Wallace's voice, not Peter's voice, because obviously, I saw him being interviewed at some point telling about how he did it, not wanting to give away too much as well, as he pointed out. But Wallace himself, I suppose there's actually three, if you sort of like the nasality of it, first of all. So it's up in the nose quite a lot there. So it sort of goes up like that. there is that elongation of the vowels that he does with his cheese. Cheese. I was kind of like, that kind of very
Like Hutch
elongated
going,
vowel.
geez.
That's the one. The cheese is the word because you're not saying. And the other is that sort of like he's almost making a checklist. That I would say that slightly lilting, sing song. So you go bump, 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 bump. That went as well. We'll be sort of like up and down with the way he talks and go up at the end like that. Set coordinates. That kind of thing. Sing songy. So I was taking those sort of major bits and working on them, and over time. Because my first project was a game, and I was working as Peter's understudy, essentially. So for the other projects that Peter wasn't able or willing to do, God, man, I mean, I remember the game I did. I wouldn't be able to do that anymore. I think that the intensity, I know it sounds weird, but how much we had to get recorded in a day. I thought, I couldn't do that. It was like full day sessions doing the games, the grand adventures I'm talking about. So this is 2005, 2006. That was the first thing. And I think that was just a case of just make it through the day, do all the lines they want. It was genuinely pretty demanding as a voice actor. I had people saying, well, what, you're just talking to a microphone. How can it be demanding? Well, after a while, your voice does give out, no matter how strong you are, I think the next thing, the first bit of animation I did with Aardman themselves was for an exhibition at the Science Museum in London. Again, I think I saw it a few years ago and just went, oof, it's like, look at your early stuff and go, oh God. I think I'm still doing the same thing. I'm copying the voice match. Now, I think this sort of slow evolution, but by the time we got to making this film, Nick and Merlin, the directors, just sort of said to me, look, don't worry about the voice match, not you're there with it. It's fine. We're happy with it. So this is just all about acting now, finding the character. Well, getting this wonderful script you've been given, you lucky bugger. Hitting the right notes with there and doing it justice. They didn't say that at all. They're far too nice. But that was really, really a big relief for them to have just said, look, just focus on that. And it became apparent to me that actually, I'm not thinking about it quite so much. And I'm concerned. I'm like, am I hitting the, the right sound here? And it's like all of a sudden I wasn't thinking about it and I was just thinking about the performance. And that's animation. You've got to give things time.
When you are voice matching, it's all up here, right? It's all I'm pointing to my head. It's all in my head. And so your brain is doing all the thinking. So it's hard to perform and actually bring a performance from the heart because you're like doing voiceovers by numbers. I've got to follow this rhythm and I've got to, elongate my vowels and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. It's hard to perform. And I think, would you call that an evolution of the character or you?
That's exactly, it's kind of the word that they used. If you actually look at the character of Wallace, he changes every film. Pretty much, there's a small change. There's a huge change between, obviously, the first film, The Grand Day Out, and what we have now. But they actually they showed me a couple of Wallace figures, in fact. And you could see it, that he changes very slightly. And they said, look, the character has evolved. That's that. It's as simple as that. So we're not concerned about the voice match now. This character has evolved. So, I'm gushing like an actor, but I'm so grateful that they gave me the chance to do it because you don't always get that. The job's not always yours.
No, definitely not.
Doesn't matter if you've worked with them 2 years or 10 years or whatever. So they've given me that time to do it.
Yeah, well, I know as a director, you don't call us, we'll call you. It's pretty much the motto we run by down here as well. I can have best friends in the industry and I'll work with them on a job for 2 or 3 years and then suddenly that job's gone and then I won't talk to them again for another year or two until I book them for another job.
We can handle that, Eddie. We're used to rejection. You've got to be thick-skinned. Do you know the worst part of being an actor? It's the not knowing. And I think so many people would agree with that. It's like you're waiting to hear about that job and they're not getting back to you. Oh, man. And you're like going, I love that job. And whatever it is, a commercial or a film or anything, you're just like, why aren't they getting back to me? That's the worst part. Because the no's like, okay, I'll brush that off after a while. But the not knowing, you're just there going, I don't know. Tell me.
Bastards.
Because the other characters are mute, if you're looking at visuals of a scene and you're trying to get their emotional state and work off of them like as you would an actor, it's a bit tricky for Wallace because Gromit is mute. Other characters he interacts with are mute.
It's a good question. You just reminded me of a very funny bit in the film that applies to that, actually, that I could probably... I'll think about how to tell it without spoiling it. But the character of Wallace is kind of in a world of his own most of the time anyway. And it's just like he's got that emotional kind of turning on a sixpence kind of attitude, like, will it be broken 1 minute and then up and the next, quite unaware of the mistakes that he's making. Fortunately, he has Gromit to, know full well this is going to save the day, but know initially that something's not right here. You're missing something big. And there's a look that he gives him in the film when he asks Gromit a question and Gromit looks back. I want to say it, but the reply from Wallace is, well, I think you've said enough. Oh God, I hate spoiling because it's such a nice line. It's such a nice moment from the film. I don't know whether I want to ruin that for anyone else, but I think it's just, putting yourself in that space of like, what am I doing? I'm thinking about my next invention, People's reactions are this or that, but no, as far as technical stuff is concerned, what they'll do is they record the voice initially. What you get is the animatic sometimes. Which is the sort of, animated storyboard, essentially, film. So they'll show you the intention of what's happening a little bit. That can certainly help before you do it. And it might be your voice they've recorded before, or it's probably, Nick or Merlin's voice there over the top of it, which is also very sweet listening to them doing their thing. So you get a little bit of a guideline from that. You also, of course, I suppose, knowing the world of it is very helpful. And as I said, knowing that character and knowing the kind of look Gromit's going to give back. And I'm just going to pick on Gromit here because obviously there's other characters. He doesn't, again, there's only one other character he has a lot of interaction with, the reporter on your doorstep, played by Diane Morgan, who's in the voice in the film. But it's very minimal. He's kind of, you're talking, what am I talking about? To Norbot as well. But he's this little invention, he's this little gnome who's just sort of doing things for him. And it's quite obvious that actually, for most part, the gnome's in charge of him rather than the other way around. So he's the stooge, really. He's, the poor guy at the end of it, but all his own doing. Has that answered the question, Rachel?
Yes, definitely. It's interesting to picture of like the visual aspect of what you had to go through as an actor.
Like it's always hard with animation. I mean, traditional animation, the voices come first. I was a bit unsure with Wallace and Gromit. I was like, well, what comes first? And because you could almost do the animation beforehand, couldn't you? Really, but
yeah. I think there was one. I remember I'm watching a documentary about an anime. Was it Akira? I think it was Akira from the early mid-90s, and I'm fairly sure they said they did the animation first and then the voice acting second, which I think that's pretty unusual, but it does happen, like you say. But with this, no, they need that's where you got to bring life to these things and these puppets, and you need the animation, the initial animation. But when you see it, I think the next step, of course, is when you've been sitting there worrying about whether you sound good or it's right, and then they actually show you some animated footage, and you go, "Oh yeah, this isn't about me, is it?" You do all the work eventually. And I've seen the penny drop with another actor as well, working on another Aardman movie, and I remember seeing the penny drop with him, going, "Oh yeah. This is you guys. You do all this is fantastic." You could just see the face sort of light up and a bit of relief and go, yeah. But believe it or not, I still go through the same thing making this. Made the same mistake myself, worrying about it and going, "Oh, was this all right?" And then as soon as they show you the first bit of animation, you're like, "Okay, it's fine. They know what they're doing, so don't worry."
Yeah, they know what they're lucky. Yeah, they've done it before.
In another interview we did with Keith Scott, who voices Bullwinkle, we discussed the legacy of voice actors. So everyone honours the legacy of the great Peter Sallis. What do you hope your legacy will be?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I've already got to that point where I'm thinking like, as an actor, you're thinking like, oh, I hope I get to keep this job. It's actually the point now going, the character's got such longevity that someone's going to do it after me. And I think that being a part of that maybe is the legacy. It's like, yeah, I'm whatever, the custodian of it at the moment, and then someone else will take it over. Hopefully not too soon. I think that's enough. My dad is from sort of up north, and when I used to go visit my grandma, we'd drive over the moors there to where they live. But the village at the southern end is called Holmfirth, and it's where Peter for many, many years filmed the sitcom Last of the Summer Wine. I know that he loved the place, so much so that he chose to be buried there alongside his co-star, Bill Owen. In the church there in Holmfirth. So he was from North London originally. And I went to visit it actually not so long ago. And he's not got much on his gravestone, but Last of the Summer Wine and Wallace and Gromit, the voice actor. It says it right there. So you can see how proud he was of it. And he's obviously such a loved actor. I loved him. That's the thing of watching him as Clegg in Last of the Summer Wine and listening to Wallace and Gromit. I mean, I did just think, like, no one's going to come and see your gravestone, old chap. Self-deprecating. So I'm talking about myself now. Who's going to visit yours? You know what I mean? There's that horrible voice in your head that just, like, completely. Again, hopefully not too soon. But it's more. I think, coming to that realization that, yeah, no, look, the character's been created. I've been given the chance to do it. I'm extremely grateful for. But yeah, if the legacy is that the character continues, I'd be very happy with that. That someone else will do it another time after me.
You're immortalized though in history, and that's something that's never ever going to go away, which is fantastic. And I think you're pretty much there where you're driving at home, and then if there's any other actors in the future, you can feel a bit proud and see the next voice actor nail it.
I think that's what it's all about. Like you said at the start of this, you said, this is for the next generation, Rachel. You said that, like, for a new generation of fans. And you think, well, may that continue as long as people want to watch it. If they're enjoying this, and why wouldn't they? Keep it going. That's it. That's the greatest legacy you can give is to keep it alive.
So, Ben, we are going to do a little game. I love doing impersonations. I know you're doing a version of Wallace for the movie. I wanted to challenge you to an impersonation off. So I'm going to suggest a genre, and I want to hear your version of them.
Go ahead. I'm up for this. Yeah, this is great. Go ahead. I'm not confident because I've got very limited number of voices I can do, but go ahead.
Any Simpsons character.
I just found this while I was looking for my Wallace. Ah! Mithers, my wallet is in my breast pocket. Release the hounds.
Hi, I'm Itchy. Hi, I'm Scratchy.
I wonder what I can't do one. Eat my shorts.
I can do Rod and Todd as well.
Go ahead for Rod and Todd. Go ahead. Let's hear him.
Yeah.
I got the joy down in my heart. Work down in my heart. Work down in my heart. And if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on a tap. Ow! Sit on a tap. Ow!
That's long-winded. Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, it's good fun.
Yeah, you do that in every episode. That's great. That's where people turn off at the episode.
Oh, thanks, mate.
No, it's awesome. No, yeah.
So, a Shaun the Sheep character.
Oh well, I mean, you let your little Shaun the Sheep out there earlier on. I think you're going to win this round, and also it's harder because they're just sort of fairly. It's just noises, really, isn't it? Was it blowing the whistle? Was that the pump? Sort of got that mumbling noise there going on. Yeah, you go on. Your turn. There you go. You won that round. You won that round.
Any Disney character?
Oh my goodness me! Oh, Who can there be? Who can there be from the world of Disney? Go back. Go back a little bit, maybe to the older days. I don't know if I've got a Disney character in there. You go first. I'll think of one.
I can do Stitch. Hal. Hala means family.
Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah.
I can do Plumette from Beauty and the Beast, the feather duster.
Uh-huh.
Oh no! Oh, wait, hang on.
Oh, that was good.
Oh no!
That's really good.
It's like Lumia goes, oh yes. Oh no!
That's great. Yeah, good. Ben's just sitting there going, I can't.
I'm then they go, can I do James Earl Jones? I've never tried Mufasa before.
Give it
Go
a
on.
go.
Down here, isn't he? He's more like this. Simba, you are the heir to the throne. That's not. Yeah, that'll do. Come on.
That's
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Finally, another Wallace and Gromit character besides Wallace.
Well, I mean, we've got that sort of Rafe Fiennes character, Victor Quartermain, haven't we, from the Were Rabbit? He got that because he sounds like this very much. You're gonna be my ultimate enemy, you are, something like that. That's not
Brilliant.
That's
That's
pretty good.
brilliant. That's brilliant.
very good. I love that. Oh, what's it called? The Grand Budapest Hotel. Very good.
Very good. I'll do Hutch. Jeez!
Good, yeah. All right. You maybe won that one as well.
Yeah, I know.
Kudos to you now.
You're doing such
You
a good
joining in,
job.
Eddie?
Oh, well, I don't even know the character. I'll give you the hot tip. I don't do characters. So that's it. I'm a regular guy.
Missing out, mate.
Most people don't want characters when that's the thing you learn very quickly as an actor. Is like most of the work is not about doing character voices. It's doing your own voice. Yeah.
I always say, because I do some coaching, people go, I can do great characters. And I go, let me have a listen. And they'll go, they'll do, some zany character like a Donald Trump or whatever. And I go, do you know what?
There's so many people who do Donald Trump like just absolute match for his voice. I find it quite difficult with Trump actually, but yeah.
A chap that I work with does the best David Attenborough I've ever heard. And he, in fact, it's impossible to tell the difference. And he's an English bloke. His name's Rupert Dagus. He's probably a smidge older than you. Voice artist from London, and he's lived in Australia for probably about 10 years, but he does the best David Attenborough ever.
I'm enjoying this game. Have we got any more? Have we got any more there, Rachel?
I think that's it.
That's it for the game. I think we're nearly out of time. We've got a couple of minutes left.
So I reckon you did an amazing job, Lo. Like, I'm going to give you that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Listen, there's a few more Simpsons I could do. I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, and the voice actors in that, Dan Castellaneta is. You were talking about voice actor legacy, and I think a lot of people would cite Mel Blanc as the major actor, grandfather of it all, or whatever, because the amount of voices he could do for those. Everything was incredible, but I'd sort of Dan Castellaneta I'd say is very much our version of Mel, this era's version of Mel for sure.
Well, give us another one. You said you've got more. Give me your
I
favourite.
want to hear
What
it.
does he do? He's bye. Who's my favorite? I think my favorite is Burns, but
That's regular, dude. It takes premium. What was it?
Premium.
Yeah.
I was doing a job recently, and for a while it was a charity job. This character, and for a while my character became Duff Man. All of a sudden, I was doing this kind of voice. I am the greatest Swiss Army knife ever.
Yes.
Well done, mate.
Smithers. Yeah. I can't do it. No good.
It's just going to turn into a big geek fest now of us doing
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that. That's right up my alley. To end this podcast, we have a challenge for all our guests and think it's right up your alley. So, the whole inner world shtick where you do the trailer narration. We would challenge you to do a trailer narration of this interview.
Starting with Inner World.
Give me a couple of takes at this one, I think, if you don't mind. But we'll go. In a world of podcasts, one podcast was the clear podcast of podcasts, the best podcast there ever was. there will ever be. From Adelaide, Australia, it's this podcast. Right, take two. Maybe less podcasts. Oh, okay, give me something to go on. In a world of podcasts, we'll take three. In a world of podcasts, one man, one woman, one guest, one audience, maybe more than one sheep, one animated character. Thank you. One animated character and one way out.
Brilliant. Just brilliant. That's the best so far, I've got to say.
I wish I had a chance to work on that. What's the one way out? What the hell was that all about? Take four.
You were amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Ben, you've been brilliant. Thank you for your time, and we very much look forward to seeing the movie when it comes out January 5th.
January 3rd.
There you go, January 3rd.
Yeah, and just to finish up, can we get a goodbye Chuck?
You can. I'm sort of not really supposed to do it, but I could sort of like go cheese or something like that, maybe. Okay. So goodbye, Chuck. Oh, it doesn't sound right. Goodbye, Chuck.
So
does that sound right?
It's perfect.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, that's made my life. Thank you so much.
I need someone to come on a movie. Listen, it's been a real pleasure to be doing this, and also just communicating with people on the other side of the world. It means a lot. So I'm really glad to be able to talk to you, and hopefully listeners will enjoy the podcast as well. So thank you.
They will.
Thank you so much. We feel so lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
I'll let you know when I'm down next with the show.
Yeah, do that. Get us some free tickets. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for listening to This Is My Voice, the podcast about all things voice performance with the world's best voice artists. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. This episode has been brought to you by the Australian Radio School and delivered to your ears by the Ozcast Network.